Hello friends. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt like the universe quietly pushed you two together, like your energies just knew how to dance before either of you took the first step? That's the kind of connection often whispered about between a Taurus man and a Cancer woman. On the surface, they may look like a classic love story, soft, stable, and serene, but there's much more stirring beneath. So, what really happens when Earth meets water in the zodiac world? Can a grounded, sensual Taurus man truly build a lasting love with the emotionally rich and nurturing Cancer woman? Let's dive deep into their cosmic chemistry, uncover the emotional layers, and explore whether this pair has what it takes not just to fall in love, but to build a love that lasts. Chemistry. Initial attraction. When a Taurus man first crosses paths with a Cancer woman, the initial spark is rarely explosive. Instead, it manifests as a quiet recognition, a soft, almost imperceptible magnetism that builds with time. It's not the kind of chemistry that announces itself in dramatic declarations or showy flirtations. It's more like gravity, steady, constant, and impossible to ignore. There's an unspoken pull between them that doesn't rely on words. He may not realize it at first, but something about her presence makes him feel more grounded. And she, often reserved and observant in new environments, finds herself drawn to his calm energy like the tide responding to the moon. What makes their initial attraction so potent is how deeply it appeals to their emotional cores. The Taurus man, known for his earthy sensuality, is not typically one to rush into emotional entanglements. He prefers to observe, to feel things out slowly, and to let time reveal the truth of a person's heart. When he meets the Cancer woman, he doesn't just notice her beauty, he notices her energy. There's a softness to her that speaks directly to his heart. He can tell, sometimes even before she speaks, that she is someone who feels deeply, who nurtures and protects, and who, like him, longs for something lasting. For the Cancer woman, the Taurus man offers something rare: emotional safety. She is an intuitive soul, someone who reads people effortlessly, often sensing intentions before they are voiced. And when she meets Taurus, she doesn't feel a threat or the need to be guarded. Instead, she senses reliability, steadiness, and emotional patience. That's intoxicating for someone whose emotions often run deeper than she's comfortable showing. Where others may overwhelm her or trigger her anxiety, Taurus soothes her without even trying. There is also a deeply sensual, even magnetic quality to their shared gaze. They might meet eyes across a room, and in that moment, feel a wave of recognition, as if they've known each other in another life. There's something sacred in the way they lock eyes, something ancient. Neither of them may be able to explain it logically, but both will feel it. This emotional recognition sets the stage for a connection that's both physical and spiritual, something that transcends mere surface attraction. Even in casual conversation, their interaction feels easy. Neither is particularly extroverted in unfamiliar settings, but together, they find a quiet rhythm. Their voices drop when speaking to one another. Their body language softens. The Taurus man listens more intently, his usual skepticism replaced by curiosity. The Cancer woman, typically cautious with her words, opens up just a little more than usual. Their initial conversations might center around shared values: family, food, music, the comforts of home. Nothing flashy, but each word exchanged carries weight, each smile hints at a shared emotional language still being written. Their body language speaks volumes before words even catch up. Taurus leans in, subtly but purposefully, signaling interest in a way that feels safe. Cancer mirrors it, not dramatically, but instinctively. When they brush hands or bump shoulders, neither pulls away. Touch, when it happens, is meaningful, it lingers. It's not accidental, it's instinctive. There's a groundedness in the Taurus man's touch, and the Cancer woman responds with a softness that can only come from feeling emotionally understood. This quiet physical chemistry creates a sense of emotional safety that neither of them takes lightly. What deepens this chemistry is their shared love for comfort and familiarity. On a first date, Taurus might choose a cozy, candlelit bistro, and Cancer will appreciate the warmth and thoughtfulness of that choice. She won't need to pretend to be someone she's not. And he will be equally grateful for her emotional transparency, a rare find in the modern dating landscape. They don't need high drama or extravagant gestures to feel connected. They just need time, space, and each other. There's also an emotional frequency that they both pick up on immediately. It's not about words, it's about feeling. Taurus senses that Cancer is someone who needs emotional depth to feel satisfied, and that suits him just fine. He's not interested in superficial connections. Cancer, in turn, picks up on the emotional maturity that Taurus radiates, even if he doesn't always verbalize his feelings. She senses that he is dependable, perhaps a little emotionally reserved, but genuine. This perception lays the groundwork for mutual trust to develop, slowly but securely. In a world full of instant gratification and fleeting attention spans, Taurus and Cancer are refreshingly old school in the way they approach one another. They are not in a rush to define things. They don't need constant validation or external pressure to move faster. Instead, they revel in the process. Every shared glance, every slow-building conversation, every small discovery becomes a cherished moment. The Taurus man, who hates being rushed, finds peace in the Cancer woman's patience. And she, who often worries about emotional stability, finds confidence in his steady affection. Ultimately, what sets their initial chemistry apart from other pairings is its depth. It doesn't fizzle out after a few weeks or lose its excitement once the novelty wears off. If anything, it deepens with time. They begin to crave each other's presence not out of dependence, but because of the emotional sanctuary they create together. This kind of chemistry, subtle, powerful, enduring, doesn't just signal attraction. It signals potential, the kind of potential that lays the groundwork for a love that's not just passionate, but profoundly secure. Emotional dynamics. This is where the heart of the Taurus man and the Cancer woman's relationship truly reveals itself, and where its fate is often decided. It's not the shared routines, the values, or even the passion that defines their success. It's how they handle emotions, how they hold space for each other's fears, desires, insecurities, and inner storms. For this pairing, emotional compatibility isn't just a factor in their love story, it's the entire plotline. The Cancer woman experiences emotion not in waves, but in oceans, deep, vast, and often beyond the limits of verbal expression. Her emotional world is incredibly nuanced. She doesn't just feel happy, sad, or angry. She feels nostalgic joy, protective sadness, aching hope, and hundreds of subtle shades in between. Her moods, like the tides, shift with the energies around her. A comment from a stranger, a memory from childhood, or even a change in lighting can stir something deep within her. Her emotional memory is long, and she holds on to feelings like they're living artifacts. The Taurus man, in contrast, is emotionally grounded. He doesn't get swept up easily. His internal compass is built for balance and stability, not unpredictability. He rarely acts on impulse, and his emotions run deep but slow, like lava under the surface, not fireworks in the sky. He is thoughtful, deliberate, and resists being pulled into drama or chaos. But what's a mistake for emotional indifference is often quiet resilience. He feels, but he doesn't show until he's ready, and when he does, it's sincere. This creates a potential emotional harmony between them. When the Cancer woman feels emotionally flooded, anxious, heartbroken, or overwhelmed by the world's demands, the Taurus man doesn't flinch. He doesn't try to fix her, rush her, or invalidate her feelings. He simply stays. His presence is his power. He offers her a quiet hand to hold, a shoulder to lean on, and a calm voice that says, "I've got you." For someone who feels as much as Cancer does, this is everything. It creates trust. It creates safety. In return, the Cancer woman touches emotional places in the Taurus man that very few ever reach. Her intuition, her uncanny ability to read people, allows her to detect the softer, hidden layers beneath his stoic exterior. She sees the sensitivity in his silence. She senses the loyalty in his patience. And most importantly, she loves without needing to be impressed, she just loves. This kind of acceptance encourages him to open up more than he normally would. Her vulnerability gives him permission to be vulnerable too. Slowly, carefully, Taurus begins to show her the softer sides of his heart. The dreams he never said aloud, the fears he rarely shares, the tenderness he usually guards. But this beautiful emotional connection can also become fragile if not handled with care. The Cancer woman, despite her nurturing instincts, is not invulnerable. She needs reassurance. She needs to feel seen, heard, and emotionally held, not just through actions, but through words. If the Taurus man retreats into stoicism during emotional moments, she may start to feel like she's talking into a void. And that void can become a source of anxiety. She might begin to overanalyze, assume the worst, or fall into passive-aggressive behavior. Not because she's manipulative, but because she's trying to protect herself from rejection or invisibility. On the flip side, if the Cancer woman becomes too emotionally reactive, crying easily, becoming moody, or expecting Taurus to intuit her needs, he may become overwhelmed. The Taurus man detests emotional unpredictability. It unsettles him. He prefers clarity and emotional peace. If Cancer's emotional waves become constant, he might withdraw altogether, seeking solitude to escape the emotional noise. And to the Cancer woman, that withdrawal can feel like abandonment, a cold absence where she expected warmth. The emotional tension between them often comes down to timing and temperament. Taurus takes time to process. Cancer wants to connect now. Taurus needs space to think. Cancer needs closeness to feel safe. Taurus speaks through consistency. Cancer speaks through emotion. When these needs clash without mutual understanding, they can start to feel like emotional opposites, frustrating each other unintentionally. But there is a solution, and it lies in emotional education. Taurus must learn that expressing emotion doesn't threaten his masculinity or stability, it deepens intimacy. He doesn't have to be poetic or dramatic. Even a simple, "I understand you," can change everything for Cancer. A gesture, a warm look, a soft hand on her back when she's upset, those small things speak volumes to her. Cancer, in turn, must learn that not all love speaks in emotional language. Sometimes, love is quiet. Sometimes it fixes the leaking faucet, picks you up on time, remembers your favorite snack. Taurus shows love in tangible, practical ways. That doesn't mean he doesn't feel. It just means he expresses through presence more than prose. Learning to recognize his emotional signals, even when unspoken, allows her to feel more secure without demanding more than he's ready to give. The beauty of their emotional dynamic is that they're not trying to change each other. Deep down, Cancer respects Taurus's groundedness. She doesn't want him to cry at every movie or write her long, emotional essays. She just wants to know that she's emotionally important. Likewise, Taurus doesn't expect Cancer to become stoic or suppress her sensitivity. He appreciates her warmth, her empathy, her emotional insight, even when it baffles him. In their best moments, Taurus and Cancer create a space where both emotional expression and emotional stability exist side by side. A sanctuary where it's okay to cry, to be quiet, to need space, or to ask for a hug, without judgment. They become each other's emotional antidotes. He calms her storms, she awakens his still waters. And when they reach that place, where emotional needs are not just tolerated, but embraced, their love evolves into something rare. A connection that not only survives emotional complexity but is defined by its richness. A love that heals, that anchors, and that holds, even when words fail. Long-term compatibility. When we talk about long-term compatibility between a Taurus man and a Cancer woman, we're not talking about fleeting attraction or casual companionship. We're talking about the real, rooted kind of partnership that grows deeper with age, not weaker. This duo doesn't fall in love because it's convenient or trendy. They come together because, beneath all the surface traits and personality quirks, they want the same thing: stability, comfort, emotional safety, and a love they can come home to. And that's exactly what makes them one of the strongest pairings in the zodiac for the long haul. The Taurus man has no interest in relationships that are chaotic, dramatic, or inconsistent. He values peace in his world, not the absence of passion, but the presence of emotional order. He wants to wake up each morning knowing who he is, who he loves, and what he's working toward. The Cancer woman, for all her emotional complexity, desires something remarkably similar. She wants someone to build a life with, someone she can trust not just with her body, but with her soul. She doesn't crave the rush of newness as much as she craves the security of belonging. That's why, when these two commit, they don't just date, they build. Their vision of long-term love is remarkably aligned. For Taurus, love is in the rituals. Morning coffee brewed just the way you like it, dinners cooked side by side, the slow and sacred process of turning a house into a home. Cancer, too, lives for those intimate daily details. She doesn't need constant stimulation or big declarations to feel loved, she needs presence. She needs consistency. She needs to know that when life feels uncertain, her partner will still be standing beside her, holding her hand without being asked. Together, they find enormous joy in life's smallest moments, folding laundry while talking about their future, watching the same movies on rainy Sundays, or just sitting in silence, bodies close and hearts aligned. What truly cements their long-term compatibility is their shared belief in loyalty. Neither of them treats commitment lightly. Once a Taurus man decides to devote himself to someone, that decision is etched into the foundation of his life. He doesn't second-guess it. He doesn't wander. He doesn't chase thrills outside the relationship. Cancer, similarly, is deeply devoted once she feels emotionally safe. She doesn't just give her love, she invests it. She nurtures it, she protects it like family. And when someone earns her loyalty, it's a loyalty that doesn't fade, it fortifies. In the day-to-day, this deep-rooted loyalty shows up in quiet but powerful ways. If one of them is struggling, the other doesn't walk away, they dig in deeper. If finances get tight, or if a family crisis shakes their world, they respond not with blame, but with teamwork. Cancer will sit at the table with tearful determination and say, "We'll get through this," while Taurus, calm and composed, maps out the plan. Their resilience isn't flashy. It's earned, day by day, through mutual respect, shared priorities, and emotional dependability. Their long-term compatibility is also enhanced by their complementary strengths. Taurus brings practicality and patience to the table, qualities that balance out Cancer's emotional tides. He offers a grounded perspective when she's overwhelmed by feelings, and he doesn't just listen, he acts. Cancer, in turn, brings emotional depth and intuition. She senses when something is wrong even before Taurus says a word, and she knows how to offer comfort without crowding him. She's the heart, and he's the spine. Together, they form a union that is both nurturing and unshakable. They also share a love for tradition and future planning. These are not the types to dive into a whirlwind romance without thinking about what's next. They want a shared bank account, a house filled with family photos, a Sunday morning routine. They're the couple that plans their future around shared values: how to raise children, how to care for aging parents, how to grow old together with grace. They don't just date for the now, they prepare for the future, planting seeds today that they'll harvest for decades to come. And let's not forget how they handle life's inevitable storms. Where other couples might buckle under pressure, Taurus and Cancer tighten their grip. They are not afraid of hard times, because deep down, they believe in each other. When the world outside feels cold and unforgiving, they become each other's sanctuary. Arguments may happen, sure, but they don't linger in bitterness. Taurus, with his unwavering commitment, doesn't storm out. Cancer, though emotional, doesn't sabotage, she seeks resolution. They fight for each other, not against each other. Perhaps most beautiful of all is the emotional legacy they leave in each other's lives over time. Taurus teaches Cancer how to stand steady in chaos. He reminds her that peace is not a fantasy, but a choice you make every day. Cancer teaches Taurus how to feel more deeply, love more openly, and speak the language of the heart without fear. With each passing year, they don't just age together, they grow together, each shaping the other into a better, fuller version of themselves. This long-term compatibility doesn't come from luck. It comes from alignment, emotional, spiritual, and practical. It comes from knowing who you are and choosing someone whose soul echoes your values. Taurus and Cancer don't just fall in love, they commit to love. And that's why, whether it's year 1 or year 21, their connection doesn't just survive, it thrives. Communication conflict resolution. When it comes to communication and conflict resolution between a Taurus man and a Cancer woman, things get layered, not necessarily volatile, but definitely complex. These two don't explode into screaming matches or toss ultimatums across the room. No, their disagreements tend to happen in quieter tones, sometimes too quiet. And that silence? It can either be the stillness before peace or the silence of two people drifting emotionally apart. That's why this area of their relationship requires not just love, but conscious effort. Because the very traits that make them compatible, sensitivity, loyalty, emotional depth, can also make their arguments feel heavier than they are, unless they learn how to navigate them with clarity and care. Let's start with the Taurus man. He's not the type to raise his voice or react impulsively. In fact, it usually takes a lot to even get him angry. His default mode in conflict is to retreat inward, build emotional walls, and wait for the storm to pass. He doesn't like chaos. He doesn't like being cornered into saying something he'll regret. His idea of self-protection is silence. Unfortunately, silence doesn't translate well for the emotionally attuned Cancer woman. For her, that absence of words can feel like abandonment, like rejection, like emotional exile, and when she's hurting, her response is often just as internal, but in a different way. The Cancer woman doesn't always explode outward either. Instead, she implodes emotionally. She absorbs tension like a sponge. She overthinks, overfeels, and sometimes lets her hurt morph into emotional withdrawal. She might cry, she might sulk, she might retreat to her inner world without explaining what's wrong. And to the Taurus man, who values emotional directness and calm, this can feel confusing, even unfair. He wants a clear reason, a logical map to the problem. She, on the other hand, wants him to sense the issue, to lean in, to understand what she isn't saying. This emotional tug of war can lead to a specific kind of standstill. Not explosive, but deeply frustrating. He's not speaking, she's not explaining. Both are hurt, both are waiting for the other to bridge the gap. It's a recipe for silence that stretches too long, until a misunderstanding that began with something small becomes something painful and unnecessarily drawn out. Yet, there's a paradox here, and it's also where their strength lies. Both Taurus and Cancer hate conflict. They don't fight to win. They don't use words as weapons. Neither wants to hurt the other, even when they're hurting themselves. That shared aversion to emotional war zones means they're often more willing to seek peace, not out of avoidance, but out of genuine care. The key is finding a language that works for both. Taurus must understand that Cancer doesn't argue for sport. When she cries, when she pulls away, when she gets emotional, it's not manipulation. It's vulnerability. She's reaching out in the only language she knows. And the longer he withholds emotional response, the more anxious she becomes. What feels like patience to him can feel like rejection to her. He has to be brave enough to speak, even just a few words, to let her know he's still emotionally present. A simple, "I need a moment, but I'm not walking away," can diffuse what might otherwise turn into days of emotional disconnect. On the other side, Cancer must learn that Taurus is not emotionally careless, he's just emotionally reserved. His love doesn't always come through in poetic declarations or grand emotional gestures. Sometimes it shows up in steady routines, in fixing things around the house, in a cup of coffee placed quietly beside her on a stressful morning. She has to stop expecting him to read between the emotional lines. Taurus prefers open communication. If she's hurt, she needs to tell him, clearly, calmly, and directly. No guesswork, no silent suffering. He responds best when he knows exactly what's wrong, not when he's trying to decode her energy. Their conflict resolution also improves when they stop seeing emotion and logic as opposites. In truth, they complement each other. Cancer brings emotional intelligence to their disagreements, the ability to sense what lies beneath the surface, to respond with compassion, to empathize with unspoken pain. Taurus brings practical wisdom, the ability to diffuse chaos, to find solutions, to keep the conversation grounded in reality. When they stop trying to convert each other to their emotional style and instead blend their strengths, their arguments transform from battles into breakthroughs. One of the most healing tools in their emotional toolkit is physical affection. A hand on her back, a hug that lingers a second too long, a brush of the hand across his cheek. These small gestures can say what words often fail to convey. Especially for Cancer, touch is a form of communication. And Taurus, ruled by sensual Venus, understands that language intuitively, even if he doesn't always initiate it in moments of tension. When they remember to feel before they speak, they reconnect more quickly. They also thrive when they create emotional rituals around communication. Maybe it's a designated check-in once a week. Maybe it's a no-sleep angry rule. Maybe it's a journal they pass back and forth when talking gets hard. These shared practices remind them that emotional safety isn't automatic. It's built, brick by brick, moment by moment. And the more structure they add to emotional maintenance, the fewer misunderstandings take root. In the long run, what makes Taurus and Cancer so uniquely strong in communication is that they want to grow. Neither one is stuck in ego. They don't argue for dominance. They argue because they care. And when they mature into that understanding, their conflicts become less about blame and more about understanding. Less about being right and more about getting it right, together. Love, in their world, is not a contest. It's not a courtroom. It's a conversation, one that might pause, stumble, or get quiet, but always finds its way forward again. Because Taurus and Cancer, when they truly love each other, never let silence last too long. They always come back to the table, always come back to each other. And in that return, that choice to communicate even when it's hard, they build a kind of trust that's impossible to fake and unshakable once it's formed. Physical intimate connection. Sensual, tender, soulful. These aren't just poetic buzzwords when it comes to the physical and intimate bond between a Taurus man and a Cancer woman, they're lived realities. Their connection is rooted in something far deeper than surface-level chemistry. It's a meeting of energies, a blending of emotional vulnerability and physical presence that creates an experience that feels less like lust and more like coming home to each other's bodies and souls. And what makes it so powerful isn't how quickly the passion ignites, but how slowly and deliberately it unfolds, like a symphony that builds without ever rushing the notes. The Taurus man, ruled by Venus, carries a sensuality that is earthy, patient, and remarkably tuned in to the physical world. He's not interested in rushing through intimacy to get to the finish line. He enjoys the textures of skin, the warmth of breath, the scent of hair, the rhythm of movement. He's fully present. He savors every moment, not just for what it gives him, but for the pleasure of giving. For Taurus, physical love is an act of care, of devotion, a tangible expression of feelings that he may not always voice in everyday conversation. The Cancer woman, ruled by the moon, approaches intimacy from a completely emotional place. She doesn't separate her body from her heart. To her, being touched is an act of trust. Being seen without armor is a form of sacred vulnerability. She needs to feel safe before she can fully open, but once that trust is earned, she gives everything. Her intimacy is nurturing, fluid, and deeply connective. She reads her partner's needs instinctively, responds to unspoken signals, and seeks not just to be desired, but to be emotionally understood in every touch. When these two come together in physical union, it's not just about sex, it's about recognition. It's about emotional resonance and physical alignment colliding into something that feels quietly transcendent. Their chemistry may not always explode in fireworks, but it simmers with intensity, depth, and a kind of romantic gravity that pulls them closer every time. It's not performative or loud, it's sacred. They make love like they're trying to remember something they forgot in a past life. There's a profound slowness to the way they explore each other, and that slowness is intentional. It's what sets their intimacy apart. Neither is rushing to impress or dominate, they're offering themselves, piece by piece, with every touch, every sigh, every shared breath. Taurus sets the pace, ensuring that each moment is grounded, intentional, and deeply felt. Cancer responds not with urgency, but with emotional surrender. Together, they move like water over stone, steady, fluid, perfectly attuned. And the emotional safety they create outside the bedroom translates directly into their physical connection. Cancer needs to feel emotionally protected to let go fully, and Taurus offers that protection naturally. His loyalty, his steadiness, and his calming energy create the space where she can be her most vulnerable self. In return, she gives him something rare, emotional access. She pulls back the curtain and shows him the softer, more intuitive aspects of connection. She doesn't just touch his body, she touches something in him that rarely gets reached, his feeling center. There is also an element of nurturing that defines their physical love. Taurus is deeply tactile. He loves to hold, to caress, to wrap himself around the woman he loves. Cancer is no different. Touch is her emotional language. When she rests her head on his chest or runs her fingers across his arm in quiet affection, it's not random. It's her way of saying, "I'm here. I trust you." And in that space between skin and soul, they find a rhythm that doesn't need music to feel like a dance. What elevates their connection is how intentional they are about pleasure, not just their own, but each other's. Taurus takes pride in being a generous lover. He listens, not just with his ears, but with his hands, his lips, his entire presence. Cancer responds in kind, often knowing what he needs before he can name it himself. She creates warmth and depth in the bedroom, turning every encounter into something emotionally layered and profoundly satisfying. Together, they don't just satisfy urges, they heal each other. Over time, this physical bond becomes a private language, a way of checking in, reaffirming love, rebuilding closeness after a disagreement, or simply celebrating the bond they've built. There will be nights when they don't need to say a word, because their bodies will speak in glances, in shared breath, in fingertips tracing the outline of trust. Intimacy becomes their sanctuary, not an escape from the relationship, but the core of it. Even the way they reconnect physically after emotional distance speaks volumes. Cancer might reach out for comfort, and Taurus, understanding her unspoken need, will hold her without asking questions. No words needed, no explanations required, just connection, pure, grounded, soulful connection. And that's the essence of their bond. Not dramatic highs or fiery experimentation, but the sacred repetition of quiet closeness. The ability to make each other feel safe, loved, and seen, again and again. And yes, while they may explore new forms of physical expression over time, whether through experimentation, deeper levels of trust, or evolving needs, the core never changes. It's always about presence, always about intimacy that nurtures rather than depletes, always about giving more than taking. For Taurus and Cancer, physical intimacy isn't just part of the relationship. It's the glue, it's the balm that soothes, the ritual that reconnects, and the heartbeat of their emotional world. And when they're in sync, when the emotional trust meets the physical desire, their connection becomes something unshakable. Something elemental, something eternal. Shared values, life goals. Taurus and Cancer are one of those rare zodiac pairings that don't just fall in love, they plan love. They build it with purpose. From the beginning, there's often an unspoken recognition between them, not just of romantic potential, but of shared values and compatible life visions. It's less about whirlwind romance and more about an emotional handshake. You want what I want. And that, in a world of emotional misfires and mismatched goals, is a powerful foundation for something real, lasting, and fulfilling. At the core of their shared values is a deep, mutual craving for security, not just financially, but emotionally and relationally. Neither Taurus nor Cancer wants a life filled with uncertainty. They aren't the type to chase adrenaline highs or live in the moment without thought for the future. They're planners, protectors, and providers in their own ways. Taurus seeks external security, the house, the bank account, the structured routines. Cancer seeks internal security, emotional trust, close family ties, a sense of emotional belonging. Put these needs together, and what you get is a couple who values stability more than almost anything else. For the Taurus man, his life goals usually revolve around creating a world where those he loves feel protected and cared for. He doesn't chase status for vanity, he seeks it so that his partner and future family never have to worry. He wants his home to be a haven from the chaos of the outside world. He wants traditions, Sunday dinners, financial savings, and a reliable, predictable life that allows love to flourish without fear. These are not just wants, they are emotional needs. And Cancer, deeply intuitive and family-focused, not only understands this, she mirrors it. The Cancer woman brings her own set of shared values to the table, ones that align almost perfectly with Taurus. Her desire to nurture, to love unconditionally, and to build a life based on emotional closeness perfectly complements his longing for dependability and loyalty. While Taurus builds the walls of the house, Cancer fills it with warmth. Photos on the wall, candles on the table, birthday traditions, handwritten notes tucked into lunchboxes. She understands that love lives in the small details, and she makes it her mission to make their home a sanctuary for the heart. In relationships, these two don't just want to be lovers, they want to be partners, co-architects of a shared dream. That dream often includes children, or at the very least, a tightly knit family life. They are both deeply domestic in the best possible way, not in a restrictive, old-fashioned sense, but in a soulful, intentional one. Raising children together is something they'd take seriously, with mutual commitment to providing emotional stability, consistency, and structure. Taurus offers rules, boundaries, and the example of steady love. Cancer brings empathy, emotional education, and the soft spaces kids run to when life gets hard. Their approach to money is another place where values align remarkably well. Taurus is practical, cautious, and financially minded. He believes in working hard, saving smart, and avoiding unnecessary risk. Cancer, while perhaps a little more sentimental in her spending, also values financial safety. She wants the ability to care for others without worry. They may budget together, set shared savings goals, or talk openly about retirement before most couples even think about it. To outsiders, this might look overly cautious, but to them, it feels like emotional freedom. Because when money isn't a source of stress, love gets to be the focus. Even in their spiritual or philosophical beliefs, these two often find common ground. While they may not always follow the same religious or spiritual path, they tend to believe in the importance of family, compassion, loyalty, and integrity. Their moral compass points in the same direction. They believe in doing right by others, protecting the people they love, and building a life that's rich in meaning, not just material things. That alignment gives them a shared language for navigating life's bigger questions and decisions. And when life gets hard, which it inevitably does, their shared values become their survival strategy. They don't run, they don't panic, they turn toward each other and say, "Let's fix this together." Cancer offers emotional strength. She's the one who will sit down and ask how you're really feeling. Taurus offers practical guidance. He's the one who will calmly say, "Here's what we're going to do." Together, they face challenges side by side, never losing sight of what they've built or what they're working toward. Even their view on love itself is deeply aligned. They both see love as a long-term investment, not a gamble, not a transaction, not a convenience. They believe in showing up every day, even when it's hard, even when passion fades or tempers flare. To them, love is action. It's devotion. It's choosing each other over and over again, in the small moments no one else sees. That belief shapes every decision they make, from how they argue to how they celebrate victories. When they talk about the future, it sounds strikingly similar. They both want a cozy home. They both want lifelong companionship. They both want peace, not just on the outside, but inside, emotional peace, relational peace, financial peace. Their ambitions might differ in form. Taurus may chase career growth, Cancer may dream of starting a family, but the underlying goal is the same: to create a life that feels safe and full of love. And it's not just about what they want to do, it's about who they want to be. Taurus wants to be the man who can be counted on, who builds something solid and lasting. Cancer wants to be the woman who creates emotional connection, who brings warmth and understanding wherever she goes. These aspirations are complementary, not competitive. They support each other's growth instead of getting in the way of it. At the end of the day, Taurus and Cancer don't just hope they're on the same page. They live on the same page. Their shared values and life goals aren't theoretical, They're written into their routines, their priorities, their 5-year plans, and their everyday decisions. That's what makes them such a powerful team. Because when two people want the same life, and are willing to work together to build it, what they create is more than love. It's legacy. Final thoughts. At the end of the day, when the noise of modern love has quieted and the drama of fleeting romance has faded, what remains, what truly matters, is a connection built on trust, understanding, and quiet resilience. That's exactly what the Taurus man and Cancer woman offer each other. Theirs is not a relationship for the spotlight or the social feed. It's the kind of love that grows in private, that unfolds in whispers rather than declarations, and that feels like home more than it feels like fireworks. It's the kind of love that sneaks up on you, stays steady, and refuses to be shaken, not by time, not by hardship, and certainly not by the superficial. What truly sets this pair apart is the depth of their emotional commitment. When a Taurus man gives his heart, it's not temporary or halfway, it's all in, all the time. His loyalty is unwavering, his devotion unshakable. And when a Cancer woman opens her heart, slowly, carefully, protectively, she offers a kind of love that's nurturing, intuitive, and deeply emotional. Together, they don't just love, they care. They protect. They choose each other, again and again, especially in the moments when love feels more like effort than ease. This pairing may not ignite with instant drama or electric sparks, but what they build is far more sustainable. A slow-burning flame that doesn't demand attention to keep glowing. It thrives on consistency, on the daily acts of affection, on unspoken understanding. Taurus brings the steady foundation. He's the one who builds the structure of the relationship with patience and persistence. Cancer brings the soul, the emotional atmosphere that fills the space with warmth, with feeling, with meaning. It's a balance of earth and water, form and flow, stability and softness. That said, no relationship, not even one written in the stars, comes without challenges. Their greatest strength, emotional depth, can also be their most delicate area. Taurus's infamous stubbornness can collide with Cancer's moodiness. Misunderstandings may arise when one seeks space and the other seeks closeness. There may be days when Taurus's silence feels like distance and nights when Cancer's emotional waves feel overwhelming. But here's the key. They care enough to work through it. Neither is quick to give up. Both are willing to grow. Conflict for them isn't about winning, it's about protecting the relationship. And that shared intention allows them to weather disagreements without breaking the bond. They may stumble, yes, but they're also experts in repair. A soft apology, a small gesture of affection, a shared meal cooked in silence, these become the tools of reconciliation. Their arguments never feel like the end of the world because, deep down, both Taurus and Cancer believe in forever. What makes their love exceptional is not just the compatibility of their traits, it's the emotional environment they create together. It's in the way Cancer softens Taurus's harder edges without asking him to change who he is. It's in the way Taurus grounds Cancer's intensity, giving her a safe emotional harbor without dimming her shine. It's how they make each other feel seen, not just for the best parts, but for the fragile parts, the imperfect parts, the deeply human parts. And isn't that what we all really want? The Taurus man gives Cancer something she rarely finds, emotional consistency. He's not hot one day and cold the next. He doesn't play games. And for someone as emotionally vulnerable as Cancer, that kind of stability is everything. It allows her to bloom, to love more freely, to give more openly, to be her true self without fear. Meanwhile, Cancer gives Taurus something he doesn't often allow himself to crave, emotional depth. She reminds him that vulnerability is not weakness and that love isn't just a practical arrangement. It's a felt experience, one that deserves to be explored fully. Together, they are each other's emotional ecosystem. He is the garden wall, she is the blooming rose. He is the quiet storm, she is the healing rain. They don't need constant excitement or extravagant romance to stay connected. Their love lives in the everyday, in shared breakfasts, in texted check-ins, in brushing past each other in the kitchen and smiling because they just know. That kind of connection doesn't fade with time, it deepens. It becomes the rhythm of their days, the silent music playing in the background of their lives. And perhaps what's most beautiful is that, even after years together, they'll still find new ways to love each other. Taurus will continue discovering emotional layers in Cancer he never knew existed. Cancer will keep unearthing little moments of tenderness in Taurus that remind her why she chose him in the first place. This isn't a story with a climax, it's a love that unfolds in chapters, each one richer than the last. So if you're a Taurus man wondering if that sensitive, nurturing Cancer woman could be your forever person, or if you're a Cancer woman asking yourself whether that calm, grounded Taurus might be the one, the answer isn't in the stars. It's in your gut, in your heart, in how you feel when you're around each other. Peaceful, steady, whole. Because this love, it may not come with fireworks, but it comes with firewood. And every day, you'll add to it, a log here, a spark there, until one day you realize the flame never went out. Not even once. This love is quiet, this love is constant, this love is written to last.